Ugh.
We're gonna go live. I know, right? Live to Facebook.
I think I have everything turned off. Nothing will make noises.
Okay.
Yep, there we go.
And hopefully this will work like a charm. All right, so let me see. Did you see my my post, the bricks came tumbling down?
I did. I got a kick out of that. I thought that was good. And then did you see I shared with you my friend April's interview with Jane Elliott, Small
Oh,
World.
I did. I actually started watching it. I was watching it earlier.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy the way all these things are so connected to each other, right?
Yep.
Yes,
And then
the bricks.
I saw April, and I actually, when I saw that it was her, I was like, oh, I know April.
Oh, good.
Uh-huh.
Good.
Yeah, because I actually spoke with her sometime last year, I want to say. Oh, shoot.
Mhm.
Wait, let me. Okay. Okay.
There we go.
I was just putting all right.
I have to say before we go live, I love your jewelry. I love every piece that you wear.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank
do.
you.
I
I
really
have
do.
that's my thing. I love it. So I'm not sure how this is gonna be here. Can you, oh, there we are. Okay. I think we're live.
That's what it looks like.
I know. And so of course, I have to get used to the delay. So we're flowing.
Okay.
Good deal. So listen, I'm excited to be having this conversation. So I hope that lots of people can jump in. Hey, Kathy, good to see you. Let me see if I can just kind of raise myself up here. So I'm excited because we have been talking about this for a couple weeks now. I am sitting here with my friend Phil, all the way from Texas, VP of technology. But we decided to have this conversation because Phil and I met years ago through a mutual community of amazing game changers. And we've been friends ever since, probably since what, 2017-ish?
I'm thinking that's about right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And so we had a conversation a couple weeks ago. Phil told me about what I call a freak incident. But you and I recognize there's nothing freak about things that happen. Everything happens for a reason. And so we wanted to have this conversation with our audiences because there's so much in the story that is reminiscent or can relate to what we're dealing with right now. And so, Phil, tell me about, or tell everyone else. First of all, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited, I'm losing it.
Right.
First of all, Phil has a major congratulations that is in order. So Phil just found out today that he wrote an article, this was probably some time ago now, called I Came Out as a Gay Man in the 80s. It was the best thing I ever did for my career. And he found out today that that article is going to be published in entrepreneur.com on October the 6th. So first of all, let me give you kudos for that.
Thank you. That's so kind of you to acknowledge it. I will tell you that, yeah, did I think in 1982 when I came out that I would ever have an article published anywhere in the world about it? No.
Right.
No. So yes, thank you for that. I'm very excited about it. And what I'm really most excited about is that it's coming out during Global Diversity Awareness Month. It's coming out during the LGBTQ History Month, and it's coming out within days of National Coming Out.
That is awesome. I'm excited for you. So I didn't want to get too far in
Thank
the
you. I appreciate
conversation
that a
without
lot.
bringing that up. So tell us about this incident, because when I heard you tell the story, first of all, I saw the pictures, and the pictures in the story, just when I heard it from you, it just gripped me. So tell me what happened when the bricks came tumbling down.
There you go. I really love the way that you frame it because that's exactly what happened. So what happened was, Saturday morning, nice breeze, starting to get cool in the morning for us here. And so I had a cup of coffee. I was on the veranda. Our two pups were in the backyard and just enjoying the morning, listening to the birds. And I had the thought, maybe I'll do an Instagram live. And when I went to look at my phone, I heard screeching sounds of tires behind us. And the street behind us is fairly busy. And so it's often that I hear the screeching because there's an entry from across the street that comes out. And sometimes the kids, I say kids, it could be old people too, they come out and they screech. And so I didn't give it a thought at first, but it lasted a little bit longer than I am used to. And as soon as it continued to go on, and this is like in seconds, right? Out of the corner of my eye, I looked up and a car came through a brick wall and the wooden fence. And the crash, I have to tell you, the crash sound was so loud. And what I remember vividly is the squirrels in the trees started really getting agitated. The dogs were frozen. I couldn't get them into the house.
Oh my God.
And then I got on the phone with the police. And all this, of course, is happening in a matter of a minute or two. And the airbag releases, which I didn't know this about airbags, and all of the chemical, whatever that is that's in the airbags filled the air. So the backyard's filled with air. I didn't know
that part.
Yeah, there's a chemical agent that's in the airbags, and it releases out. So there was this cloud in the backyard.
Oh gosh.
So I walk over to it, and as I'm walking over to it on the phone with the police, I hear someone, screaming and wailing, and I'm assuming that it's the driver. And so, ask the please send the police, please send EMS, all of that. And by the time I got over there, again, less than 3 minutes, I'm thinking, there were quite a few people out there because it is a very busy area for people to walk and jog and those kinds of things. So when I got there, I said, does anyone know where the driver is? And the car was in the wall with the bricks all around it and the fence down. So, I mean, the car was embedded in the wall.
Oh my gosh.
And the windows were tinted, so I couldn't see if there was anybody else in the car. And I asked somebody, I said, where's the driver? And they pointed to the driver. He was on the phone, only to find out he was talking to his mom. And so what happened was, as soon as I saw him, I said, I've called the police. He said, I called my mom, she's on her way. And then it wasn't maybe but a few minutes later when the police showed up. And it was interesting because I had presence of mind as this started to play out, that I was no longer, sitting in the backyard having a cup of coffee. Now I was in the middle of what could end up being a headline, right?
And that was like in an instant, it changed.
It did. It did. And one of the things that I'm really appreciative of, Ericka, is that all of my work around being a leader and all of my work around personal and professional development, there wasn't a gap between the incident and the decision. It's like they happened at the simultaneous moment. And what I knew was that I was going to be there for the long haul. And part of the motivation was, this was obviously a young kid. He was very upset about what had happened to his car and so on and so forth. So when the first cop showed up, and then the second cop showed up, there was one cop that was, and this is pertinent to the story, one cop was, I would say probably a middle-aged white male, very, masculine and tough kind of cop that you would expect most often. And then the other was a woman. It wasn't
just a kid. This was a black young man.
Yeah. Right? So that's the thing. This is a young black kid. And as soon as I saw him, that was the other thing. Thank you. That was the other thing, that I wasn't leaving until the whole thing was done. There was no way I was leaving until the whole thing was done. And so what happened was the male cop addressed the kid, and he seemed to be aggressive with him. So then I knew in that moment that staying here for the long haul is the right thing to do. And
so
then yeah,
I don't want to lose that, because we all know where we are in the social climate, which is one of the reasons why we felt like this conversation was something we wanted to bring to other people, because there was something in you that said, I need to stay.
Yes.
Tell me what was it in you that drew you? Because, you know, sometimes when we see things, we have a tendency to say, oh, that's not my issue, or that's happening to them over there, so let me walk away. What made you stay to focus in on what was happening?
So honestly speaking, I understand that I present as a white male.
Mm-hmm.
I also understand what comes with that. And I choose to take with that the responsibility of being the white male.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, you know, I've worked with people of color and women and all of that throughout my career. And I've worked in different places in the world. And so it's always been really important for me to be the ally, the sponsor, the advocate, the person with the voice. And that's why it was so cool for me to not have to think about it. There was no hesitation. It was like,
You were
here's a
just
young,
doing what you normally do.
exactly. Here's a young Black man
Mm-hmm.
who's just wrecked his car, and there's a white male cop. And right away, it's a matter of, okay, I'm staying here until this is completely finished out, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make sure that things don't escalate, get out of control, become inappropriate. I didn't know what was going to happen, and that's part of my training as a leader. You don't sort of fall back from things, you step into them, right? Especially the things that you don't know about. And so it was really important for me to be there for him. And as I say, the cop I thought was being aggressive with him, so I was paying attention out of the side, while the female cop was getting my information in order to, you know, write the report out. The EMS came, they checked him out, he was fine. And then the wrecker came, and so literally there were bricks all over the top of the car. I mean, you saw the pictures. It was just really a horrific.
Yeah.
And the sound when a car hits that wall, the sound was just, and bricks were everywhere. So we'll say that the whole thing from start to finish may have taken about 10 or 15 minutes.
Probably felt like an eternity, right?
Exactly. I mean, time sort of stood still. And the good news is that while I didn't have my mask on, when my husband came out to ask what was going on, I said, can you please get my mask? And then that gave me more freedom to get closer to people. And so by the time everything was done, and I watched the cop interact with the kid and his mom and his sister, because they had showed up by then, I could sense that he was, again, being a bit aggressive with them. But then at the end, what I found out was that he was actually, he was very, very kind to them in terms of what could have happened.
The police officer or both?
Yeah, the police officer. I mean, when I learned, because Michael and I did some forensics on it that night, and, you know, he would have been, he could have been arrested. And there were other things that could have happened, and the police officer didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
So
and I want to just, because, you know, this conversation is not with the intent, because we understand that there is a problem in this country right now with African American males who have a higher rate of either being arrested or killed by police officers than a white male, right?
Yes.
So that is a problem. And I understand people may not fully grasp why it is a problem, but let me just say it very clearly. It is a problem. But we're not having this conversation to say that, you know, we're not bashing police officers, because my goodness gracious, we are grateful for the fact that they protect our communities. Exactly. And they sacrifice a great deal for our communities. So this conversation is not to say any of that, but we are saying that the reason why Phil felt that he needed to be present in that moment was because this was a Black young man who did not at the time have an advocate.
Nope.
And you felt like, because of who you are, because of what you've done for years, that you were that advocate. So I just want to say that, because I want to make sure people are clear about the conversation and the fact that in your humanness, you decided there was something you needed to do. So I just wanted to be clear on that.
Well, thank you for saying that, because what I will tell you is when his mother arrived with his sister, I felt a sense of relief knowing that his mother was there, because I know the relationship I have with my mother. And I know that when I'm in times like that, I might get emotional. When I'm in times like that, it's my mom. I want my mom. And I could sense that when she got there and they hugged and all that. So I was a little bit relieved that she was there and that she could support him, at that level. And so, yes, it was really important for me to be there and to see this thing out. And what happened when everyone was gone was the mother and the sister and the driver were standing there, and I was able to, go across to everything. And by then they'd had my card, because I gave my card across the rubble. I like to call it Barney rubble. So I'd given it to them. But I wanted to get on the other side, and I wanted to get closer to them, and I wanted to talk to them a little bit more. And so when I got closer to them, it went something like this. I said, and I apologize if I get emotional. I said, I know I don't know you. What I want you to know is I'm that guy. And let me tell you what guy I am. I'm the guy that's going to point out to you that your car came in our yard 3 feet to the side of a tree. That oak tree would not have given. That oak tree would not have been flexible like the walls were. So what I want you to know is that you've been spared, and you have a miracle life going forward. And I know I'm that guy. You just met me, and here I am talking to you about this stuff. And I looked at him and I said, I don't know what your plans are for the rest of your life, but what I hope is that you do something really amazing for your life as a result of being able to go forward from this. And this young man was able to articulate to me that he had been accepted to the New York School of Performing Arts.
My goodness. He's
into theater and music and acting and all of that. He had been accepted to it, decided to take a year deferment because of COVID. He wants to be an actor. He wants to be a musician. He wants to be on Broadway. He wants to be an acting coach. He's telling me this just after all of this has taken place. Immediately, what struck me was the presence of mind and the vision that this young man had.
Yeah.
So,
it's so many, even like hearing this again and feeling like, oh my goodness, because, the fact that he is still alive.
Yes.
Is nothing short of a miracle.
Exactly.
And you said it. You said to him, there is something that there's a reason why you are here.
Yes.
There's something that you're supposed to do. And, sometimes we have these, we come with a certain set of stuff, right? We have our biases. We've learned some things. We've experienced some things. So we shape this whole narrative about the world and about people. And so you could have looked at him and assumed that because he was a young Black man, that he would not have been able to articulate. And maybe you did. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Did you think that for a moment?
So what was really great about this was I didn't have any preconceived ideas of what he was going to say to me. I just knew that there was a part of me that said, ask him this question. Ask him what he wants to do with the rest of his life.
And so so you asked him that question, yes. Spirit guide. Yes. And he said to you, here is how I want to show up in the world.
Exactly. Broadway. It's like, who knows that at that age? Right? So the presence of mind, I didn't have any preconceived ideas. I will tell you, one of the things that was most poignant about this whole thing for me was thinking about all of my friends who have young Black boys who are or will be driving, and hearing them either tell me directly in conversation or watch the videos about the conversations that they have with these sons.
Yeah.
And for me, it was so important to step into that space until I knew that his mother was there, right? Because I'm sure they've had the talk.
Let me tell you, I was literally just having this conversation the other day, and I'm trying to navigate to see comments and things, and
Oh,
so
okay.
me looking down, I just wanted to acknowledge anyone who's been able to join this conversation. I have
Good,
a
thank you.
12-year-old son,
Yes.
and I said to someone the other day that I feel this sense of relief because I'm still driving my son around. My daughter is still driving my son around. His dad is still driving him around. But the moment I know that he has to be behind the wheel, I have to have a different conversation with him about what it means to be safe and to come home at night or
Yes.
during the day, whatever. And
Yes.
so, as a mother of a Black son, that is the conversation.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate that it has to be different, but that is the reality.
Yes.
And for anyone who's trying to grapple with this thing about, well, systemic racism doesn't exist or there's no racism, let me just say that as a mother of a Black son and a Black daughter, that there are different conversations we have to have. It is just the way of life that we have to live in order to make sure that our families are educated, that our families are kept as safe as possible, and to navigate through what this world might look like to them.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that, my gosh, my prayer is that whatever we tell them, that they don't have to experience it. But if we don't tell them, I want to make sure that I'm not on the hook for not having given them the information that they need to understand how they need to be.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So
yes.
As that mother, I have to say that if I had pulled up and I knew that there was someone who was there to, again, be that advocate for him, I would be forever grateful. And I know that you had that conversation with his mom, correct?
I did, yes. In fact, so we have this gaping hole in the backyard. And as a result of that, we take the dogs out on the leash.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was interesting because I was up here working in my office and I decided to go down mid-morning and one of the dogs was nudging me. And so I said, okay, let's take a walk. So we went out in the backyard and we're in the backyard. And at the very moment that I turn around and look at that gaping hole, and I said, there's quite a bit of activity back there, people walking and biking and jogging and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a woman who walks by and she waves at me and I wave at her. And then I'm like, wait a minute. So I took the dog in and I went to my phone
Mm-hmm.
and there was a text message from the mother
Oh,
and it was her.
Wow.
So then I said, are you still close by?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, yes. And I said, well, you come back so we can have a conversation. And she said, of course. So she came back and she said, I didn't want to disturb you. I didn't want to bother you. She said, I came here to pray over the wall. I want the wall and the fence to be restored and I want you to have peace and so on and so forth. And I said, how amazing is that? And how amazing in the moment that you walked by did I, see you. So we were out there for about 30 or 45 minutes and we talked and we got to know each other and, it led to now we're Facebook friends and so on and so forth.
Oh,
and
I hope she can see this.
Exactly. And what was interesting about it was she told me that she walks over here regularly. They don't live very far. She walks over here regularly, and typically she walks on the other side of the street, and that way she's walking where she faces the traffic, but she was walking on this side specifically for that. And so to think about how many times she's been walking, past and all that. And then the other thing is, so let's say, and I don't know linear, right? So let's just say that I'll make up a number. It's smaller than a football field. Let's say that there's 30 yards of fence line back there, right? So there's 30 yards of line back there. And then there's maybe a mile on either side of the road. So the space that he hit is 15 feet. And the 15 feet is at the very edge of our property line. It's the very last section of our wall and our fence. And so I keep looking at that and I keep thinking about what would have happened if he landed in another, and because there were people, and we talked about this because she said there are people that are trying to get in their ear. And they said, yeah, Phil might be that guy today, but who's going to get into his ear? And so now the running joke is, I am that guy. I text her regularly. She texts me regularly. I care about them, you know, and all of that. And I think that there's a reason, and we never know these reasons, or maybe we do. There's a reason that he hit that last 15 feet of our fence yard.
Absolutely. You know, there's so many things in that, and I just want to say, I see Kathy has given you a congratulations with your article being in entrepreneur.com, and we've got some people jumping in. So if anyone has any questions, or you just want to say, hey, let us know you're there, we appreciate you jumping into this conversation. And if you are just coming in, you know, I just want to briefly say, I am talking with Phil Bohlender, and he and I are having this conversation about what we say in, you know, our normal course of life. Sometimes a freak accident happened, but this really wasn't a freak accident. Yes, this young man was driving in your neighborhood. He ran into the back part of your yard, and all the bricks literally came tumbling down. This young man was spared. Phil decided that he was going to stay with this young man, young Black male, because he wanted to make sure that he was okay. Now, you know, sometimes we think, oh, well, because you are a white male, that there wasn't any support that you could give. But the reality of it is, when we talk about this thing called life, and we talk about the human element, and we talk about navigating through this difficult social environment that we're in. And let's just call it for what it is. We're dealing with COVID, we're dealing with social injustice, and we're dealing with this heightened political season that has really become very vicious and very ugly, and all of it's compounded together. And so when I hear this story, what it says to me is that there is an element of humanity that still exists in this world that we're living in. And I'm gonna tell you, after last night, and we're not gonna spend a whole lot of time on what happened last night. Last night was ugly, was vicious, it was a dog fight. There was no decorum, there was no tact, there was none of that. And this has nothing to do with party. This isn't a political conversation right here. What I'm saying about last night is that it was an example of what we should not want to be. The story that you're hearing tonight in Phil's example of how his life was like, he was thrust into the middle of something that he wasn't expecting, is what we want to show up as. We want to be the people who can help. You didn't look at him and say, you know, you're Democrat, or you're Republican, you're independent. You didn't do any of that. Yep. Your humanity, your leadership, your compassion, your advocacy shifted you into gear, and you just did what you do. And so we wanted to share this story tonight because we all need something to believe in at this stage. We need something that says, oh my gosh, there is still hope. Oh my gosh, there is still something that I can do to help someone else, because we need that right now. And I know we talked about this briefly before we jumped in, but you feel what I'm saying, right? Like we need to know that there is something that is still good about this world that we live in, even if we have to start by helping a young man who crashed into our backyard.
Exactly.
What do you think about that?
Yes, it's interesting because as you're talking about it, so, you know, part of the emotional thing for me is centered in the relationship between him and his mom. And what I will tell you is, you know, thank you for the comments and the compliments that you made about me and humanity. Where that was born was, my parents were divorced, and I'm not going to give you the whole 51 years that led up to today. When my parents were divorced, when I was about 10 or 11 years of age, I saw the way that my mother was treated as a divorced woman in 1970. And people today, unless you were there, unless you experienced it, cannot begin to understand the discrimination and the other things that my mom withstood. My mom is a very, very strong person, and my mom is the reason that I am the way I am today, because from 10 on, my mom shared with me, modeled for me, and taught me up until yesterday conversation with her
Mm-hmm.
exactly how to be the person who, when he sees something like that or something similar to it, he jumps in to be the advocate, the support, and whatever else needs to be done
Mm-hmm.
without any hesitation at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a long standing understanding of the value of being able to show up and do those things.
Yeah. And I think that, and I'm so glad you said that, because I think part of what we're dealing with right now is that we only know our perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And because we only know our perspective, that means that we've closed ourselves off to not just somebody else's perspective, but the validity of the experiences that they're dealing with.
Yes.
We hear, well, that doesn't exist. Well, just because you haven't experienced it, whatever it is, doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right.
Right. And so what you're sharing is that you were given that gift by your mom who taught you what it's like to be compassionate.
Yes.
And I feel like, there's always the opportunity to learn how to be compassionate.
Exactly.
And so we're hoping that through this conversation, for whoever gets to see this, we didn't have any kind of script. We didn't have any kind of talking points other than sharing the story and just figuring out where the conversation would go. But we're hoping that from this conversation, whether you see this live, whether you see on the replay, however you choose to watch it, that you think about, there's still an opportunity to be compassionate. And in this state that we're in, I was literally just talking to my mentee before this conversation, and I'm listening to her story and thinking to myself, there's so much that is left for us to do the right way.
Yes.
And I think we have to figure out how to move out of this place of constant chaos and bashing one another and going after one another and disrespecting one another. And when I hear the story that you shared, Phil, it just lets me know that the heart that you have for people, we need more of that. I mean, we literally need more of that. And so if anybody's watching and they're like, well, this stuff is too big and I don't know what to do. And, how can I make a difference? It's stories like this.
Exactly.
You can make a difference just by helping somebody else out and trying to figure out, if I were on the other side or if I were in their shoes, how would I feel?
Yes, exactly. And it's interesting because one of the things that I'll share, and I say this with all due respect, and I'm not in any way trying to make these two things identical. I'm just going to make a statement or share an observation that just came to me about the similarities. So my mom is the mother of 3 gay children.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 lesbian sisters
Mm-hmm.
and 1 straight sister. And the way in which my mom brought us up, the conversations that she had with us about maintaining our safety, because let's face it, there are people from the community that I live in who have been murdered. And so my mom, from a very early point, when we each came out, had conversations with us about protecting ourselves.
Yeah.
And I can tell you there's only one time in my life where I feared for my life. And it's because I made a bad judgment in terms of where I was at a certain time on a night, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I bring that up is because it makes it even more, I don't know the word, I just lost the word. I can relate to these conversations that mothers are having with their young Black sons, because my mother had conversations with us about making sure that we didn't put ourselves in places where we could be, beat up or murdered or whatever. And, it's the mother's love. It's the reason I got emotional when his mother came. It's the reason that his mother and I now have this connection, because there's something extremely special about, and I'm not taking away from the mother-son relationship is the one I know, and I know it best. And So anyway, thank you for letting me share that, because it's really about being related, being able to relate to it. I
Absolutely.
look at some of the other neighbors that were out there the other day, and as soon as they, saw that I was there, and they were gone,
Yeah.
they left. And
You
it's not a
know,
judgment on them. It's just that they didn't have any tolerance for it. They didn't have any, interest in it.
well, as you said, you were that guy, right? You
They-
were that guy. And here's the as we round out the conversation, because really, we could spend the rest of the night just talking and having conversation. So I appreciate you, because what you just said is something that I think we miss often. I am a straight Black woman.
Mhm.
You are a gay white man.
Yes.
But the stories that we have are similar. I
Yes.
have to talk to my son, my children, about how to be safe. Your mom had to talk to you about how to be safe. And sometimes we say, well, you can't relate, and because you have a Black son, you're still going to be treated differently because you're a white gay man. And that may be true in some instances. I'm not going to deny that. But
Right.
my point here is, we have relatable stories,
Yes.
because before anything else, we're human.
Yes.
And so we have to remember that before we dig into each other, and before we just go out there viciously attacking one another, as we see so often, we see it too much. And what really gets to me is that we are okay with the attacks, and we co-sign the attacks, because we don't get the fact that we still have to be human to one another. There's some other things at play. Sometimes our bank accounts are so big that we forget what it's like to be human, because that's the part that we focus on.
Exactly.
So I, I'm sharing all of this because what I want people to take away from this conversation is that there is more that can unite us
Hmm.
than what we will allow to separate us, if we just stop and just focus on that for a moment, and just kind of move ourselves out of this cycle. And people are looking for the thing that is going to move them from stress, from
Yep.
anxiety,
Exactly.
from depression, from anger, from lashing out. I mean, I don't want to diminish any of those emotions that people are feeling. And I would say that if you feel like you're at a point that you need to seek help, do that.
Hmm.
There's nothing, in fact, that's probably the best thing you can do for yourself. So in this time, everybody's dealing with this space that we're in a different way.
Yep.
And so, find the things that are going to make you feel good. If it's conversations with friends and family members to help you to manage everything that's going on, find that space. Because I do believe that transformation does begin with a conversation.
Yes.
Difference does come with the conversation if we talk with, like we're doing right now,
Yep.
as opposed to talking over, trying to dominate, taking control. And as I say that, let me be quiet and let you jump in.
So what I really want to be able to share is why I reached out to you. And why I reached out to you is because I listened to you and Erin, your daughter, and I've listened to you, and I heard things that you said. And the thing that really grabbed my attention was this thing that sounded like, who are the people out there who don't look like me, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, okay, I don't look like her. I don't look like her. However, what I know is that there's a story that I'm willing to take the risk of sharing with her. Because let's face it, again, I know how I present, I know how I show up. And I love that you know me. I love that you accept me. I love that you are willing with me. And so that's exactly how this came to be. And so I want people to know that when we had that initial conversation, it was like, igniting energy. It was so exciting to have that conversation with you, because all too often I get dismissed as not having any stories to tell around these issues, when in reality, my life, the same as yours, has a lot of these stories.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful that we were able to do this evening. And I just want to share this because this is pretty big. This is the, I don't know what you call it. It's the thing at the front of the car.
Oh, yes. I was going
Right?
to ask you about that. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is the thing that's at the front of the car.
The
And this,
emblem. That's
the
what
emblem. There you go. This is the emblem. And I think it might be a Toyota. I don't know at this point.
Yep.
What I know is that when I was back there and I was walking across all the rubble, Barney rubble, I saw that. And I had presence of mind to pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I told his mom when I saw her, I said, I have that for him. Now, when and how I give it to him, I don't know what that's going to look like. But I keep thinking that this is going to somehow or another be made into some kind of I don't know what they call them, trophies or an award or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe when he gets his first Tony or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm holding space. I'm holding a place in my mind where there's going to come a time for me to be able to give this to him. Yeah, it's
you were that guy. Because you were that guy.
It comes in the text now, that guy in quotes, right?
Yeah.
I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy.
What a beautiful, beautiful way to honor a moment that I'm sure was frustrating. I'm sure you were like, what the hell just happened? But for you to walk away from that and know, number one, I may have made the difference in this young man's life. I'm going to stay connected to this young man to make sure that I make a difference in his life.
Yes.
And I'm holding on to something to remind me of how I came to be that guy.
Yes.
That I can share with him at whatever time. And I think it's such a beautiful tribute to what the human spirit is all about.
Yes.
And so I just want to thank you for your willingness to show up. And thank you for your willingness to show up, even though you said there have been times when you've been dismissed, because I'm sure you've heard or you've interpreted or you have thought, well, what do I have to bring to the table? And how are they going to value what I have to say because of what I look like, my whatever.
Yes.
But you showed up. And so I just want to thank you for being who you are. I thank you for allowing us to have this space together. This was something we just decided to do. And I'm grateful to you because, as I've said in the series with my daughter, and I'm so grateful that she and I get to share the space to, share what we're doing to try to, learn and grow. But I just lost my train of thought. And so the train has already left the station and I'm not sure if it's going to come back. So
I laugh. I call it my black box. And once it gets locked, I got to find the key.
Yeah, it might be locked. And that might be the sign that says, all right, y'all, it's time to wrap it up. Yeah. But anyway.
Well, I'm tremendously grateful to you. I love you. And I'm so grateful for everything that you're doing and that I could share this, because what I believe is it's not about, what is this vast, massive impact? Mm-hmm. It's the ability to share it and then allow it to be out there for one or more people to go, you know what? That story makes me sit and think.
That's right. That's what this is about. Yep. And that's our hope, is that you hear what you needed to hear, what resonates with you. If it's one little thing, one small nugget, take that and use that to be the difference that we so desperately need in this time that we're living in. So Phil, I know you've got to run. I appreciate you. I thank you so, so much. And who knows, maybe we'll have more conversations like this, and we'll just keep the train moving. Hopefully with a little extra boost, because I truly did forget what I was thinking about. But I love and appreciate you.
I love and appreciate you.
We'll be talking again soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot.
You're welcome. Bye. Take care, my friend.
Okay.
All right.
So now I can go on. We're off, right?
I don't know. I don't know how to get it off. Sure. Let's see. Okay, wait. Okay, so no, we're not off because I can still see myself.
Okay.
So let me try to figure out. Oh, wait.
Oh.
So listen, this is real live. It's not technology at all. It is user error. So if you're still watching, this is the post-show credits.
This is behind the scenes when now
This
I'm looking at
behind
it
the
like, oh, we're
scenes.
still on.
Oh, shenanigans. I don't know how to shut it off. Oh, wait. Okay, here it is.
You found it?
I think so. Yes, I have it. It's done.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I'll go back and look at the, I'll look at it. Now, it's on your page, and then I would need to share it on my page. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
But you know what? I tagged you when I opened it up, so you should see it on your page. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to try to figure out how I can maybe upload it to YouTube and send you the link. I'll send you the link first before I publish it. As long as you're okay with that.
Of course. I'm okay with any of it. I trust you 100%.
Okay. All right.
So, okay. So I'll look for it. And then if it's not on my Facebook page, then I'll go ahead and tag it to my Facebook page. I'll probably put it on my Mosaic page as well.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where I do a lot of the DE&I type stuff and so on and so forth. So thank you for this. I really, really appreciate it. And if ever you're looking for a white middle-aged gay guy who could have an opinion on something, please let me know.
Listen, I've already found you, so it's all good. Right? I feel like I can't see you, and I don't know how to get back to the Zoom where I can actually see your face. But I can hear your voice. But just so you know, I feel like however we're led to do something, it's going to manifest. And I just feel good about that. And so I appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you as well. And, you know, I'm just going to say this. Thank you for being the parent that you are.
Oh, I appreciate you.
I can see the impact that you're having on your children. I don't follow either one of them on Facebook. I just know that your son comes through the refrigerator, to the refrigerator. I know that there are pictures of him.
Yeah.
And I want to acknowledge and let you know that I think you're an amazing parent, mother, and thank you for doing that. I know it's a big, big job.
Well, I appreciate you. And I will say this to you. It's a very different environment because I was married for 26 years.
Yes.
And now I'm separated, and it is a very different space. I've never lived on my own.
Yep.
And I decided to keep the house. I've never paid a bill on my own. And now I am in the space where that's what I'm doing.
Yep.
And so it's important for me to show them what it means to be the best regardless. And so I'm so grateful for you for saying that. I appreciate that.
And you are, and I can tell. I mean, so there's a reason that I reached out to you, and it's because I've been able to interact with you. I've been able to observe you. I know your character. I know your values. I've been with you when you've been on your walks out, in the open air. Right? So I just want you to know that it is very intentional on my part to reach out to you. And then what you get is I am that guy who's going to tell you the things that other people might not tell you.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. I think we put a little positive in the world after yesterday.
We did it. So go, because I know you got a meeting and you got to eat dinner, and I'm going to do the same. So I appreciate you, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Good talking to you. Talk to you more.
Okay. Sounds good. Bye-bye. Oh.